Okay, going back to Carl Sagan, I'm eventually there, having alluded to it a few minutes ago. Carl Sagan, America's smartest man, recognised the threat between having dragons or dinosaurs living together at the same time, and tried to come up with an explanation of why all the way across the world, in all these cultures, there is this knowledge and legend regarding dinosaurs or dragons and mankind. So what he came up with is this particular story. Listen to what he says, or read what he says. The pervasiveness of dragon myths in the folklore legends of many cultures is probably no accident. It's a worldwide phenomenon. The awe complex is functioning in the dreams of humans. The dragons can be heard hissing and rasping, and the dinosaurs thunder still. Interestingly, he puts dinosaurs and dragons in the same sentence there, which is interesting. But what is the awe complex? Anybody know what the awe complex is? What the awe complex is, what he proposes, is that when we were tiny little mammals back in our evolutionary past, we were scurrying around as little tiny critters, and we encountered the dinosaurs and were terrified by them, and of course we ran away. But that terror imprinted itself into our DNA, and as we evolved into larger creatures over millions of years, and eventually monkeys and then supposedly humans, that memory was carried with us in our DNA unconsciously. And so therefore it comes out in our dreams, all these memories about the dragons or the dinosaurs. I mean, really, come on. You ask a modern day biologist what he thinks about that. Well, this is the effort that people go to in the evolutionary side, who call themselves academics, to try and disprove the biblical accounts. It's remarkable the lengths that people go to. And when you scratch at the surface, it's really quite silly. It's amazing, really. Job 40. We're probably all familiar with this one, or many of us are. Look at Behemoth. Behemoth, tomatoes, what you want to call it, Behemoth. Which I made along with you, remember day 6, which I made along with you, which feeds on grass like an ox, what strength it has in its loins, what power in the muscles of its belly. Its tail sways like a cedar. What animal has a tail that sways like a cedar? Now, modern day footnotes in the Bible often point to elephants and hippos, but we know they're tiny tails. But we know the creatures have existed with tails like a cedar, and that would be perhaps brachiosaurs or diplodocus or something like that, Apatosaurus. Those kind of animals do have tails that sway like a cedar. So again, they are in the Bible. Dinosaurs are in the Bible. Then, of course, it also mentions in Job 41, going on to the next chapter, Leviathan. Now, I'm not saying Leviathan is super croc, but it's a possible candidate for being Leviathan, because it talks about the armour plating on its back and so forth, and super croc was huge. However, it also points to Leviathan as being fire-breathing. Well, there we are then. It's got to be a myth, because we don't have fire-breathing animals, do we, in the modern-day world? So therefore, it can't be real. This has to be a myth. Well, imagine for a moment you'd never seen an electric eel. They don't exist in the modern day world. You'd only ever found the fossil of an electric eel. Could you ever imagine that that creature could have zapped you with 1,000 volts of electric? That's ridiculous. And that's a myth. If you found that in a book, wouldn't you? You would simply dismiss it. But that's exactly what it can do. Now, the nose looks quite strange on supercroc. Perhaps it could have produced some kind of fire-breathing apparatus. Who knows? It's a potential candidate for being Leviathan. Well, do we have creatures alive today that could potentially fire out a hot scalding blast? Hot fiery blast? Well, we do. Anybody heard of this one? Yeah, brilliant. Well done, guys. The bombardier beetle. Anybody heard of the bombardier beetle? Sorry, Mary. Fantastic. A few others. Yeah, an interesting creature, this one, the bombardier beetle, because what it does, it takes two very dangerous chemicals, which if you and I took into a laboratory and mixed them together, we would blow ourselves up. We'd be killed. We'd blow ourselves up. It cleverly puts them together and shoots them out at its attacker. It can point in any direction, down, away it goes, and it fires that hot scalding blast, 220 degrees, at its attacker. So we do have creatures that can fire a hot scalding blast. That is a nightmare for the evolutionists, by the way, the bombardier beetle, about how that could evolve over millions and millions of years. Because first of all, there's your average beetle. It's then got to get those chemicals in it to start to evolve without blowing itself up. Well, I mean, that's difficult. And then, if you get those chemicals, you've got to do something with it. Well, do I just turn around and try and fire that? I could do with a gun on my backside. That would be handy, wouldn't it? And I've got to be able to point that. It would be handy if I could actually aim it. That would be quite handy as well. Otherwise, it would take too long to fire at my attacker. So, again, it just makes evolution all look a bit silly, really, I think. So we do have creatures that can fire a hot scalding blast. Do have evidence, again, in terms of pictures, that dinosaurs could exist? Because if people weren't around when dinosaurs were, then who drew their pictures? This is an 11th century temple in Cambodia. And it depicts where the arrow is. There's a little red arrow there. And there's a column of animals. And one of the animals on that column is this. 11th century. Long before dinosaurs were discovered. What does that look like to you? Stegosaurus? Brilliant. Yeah. And yeah. Stegosaurus is the most kind of common depiction for that one. Yeah, because of plates. Yeah, Stegosaur. No, it's not, according to the evolutionists, to try and dispel that. What that is oh blimey, what's it called? A chameleon. They say it's a chameleon. I had this argument with my son. He says on the internet it's a chameleon. It's not a stegosaur. So I said, well, why do people call it a stegosaur rather than a chameleon? He says, because it looks like a stegosaur. Well, there we are then, surely. 11th century, long before dinosaurs were discovered. Now, some people point out as critics, well, what the ancients did, what they must have done was dig up the bones of a stegosaur and attached them all together and worked out what it looked like. Remember that picture I showed you in 1841 with Richard Owen and how it was wildly off the mark, what a dinosaur looked like? It takes an awful lot of technical know-how to do that. Not really a possibility, I don't think. Then in Carlisle Cathedral, Bishop Richard Bell, on his tomb, which is in the hallway of Carlisle Cathedral, there's a rug. If you peel back the rug, there's his tomb. And around that tomb is a brass inlay which depicts many animals, like birds and dogs and so forth. And then it has this on that same brass plate. It's got slightly worn because people have walked over it and brass eventually wears, but 1496. Any idea what that looks like? Yeah, a Diplodocus, something like that, yeah. Apatosaurus, but something of that nature. Two long-necked dinosaurs with the necks intertwined. They're quite interesting. Just like modern-day giraffes and swans often do, intertwine the necks. There's another depiction from a Mesopotamian cylinder seal, which is hundreds of years before Bishop Bell's tomb in a completely different continent, separated by hundreds of years and thousands of miles, and yet again depicting large-necked animals with their necks intertwined. So again, how could that have happened unless someone had actually seen that to depict it in pictorial form? Good evidence. There's other things as well, like burial stones, all sorts of things, cave drawings and so forth, which depict animals, like dinosaurs, all around the world. So again, good evidence that mankind and dinosaurs coexisted. Okay. So why did the dinosaurs become extinct? Do you want to know the answer to that? Don't know. Okay. Why did the dinosaurs become extinct? Well, it's quite simple, really. The key message there is don't smoke, folks. It can make you extinct. So bear that in mind. I'm only joking, of course. When science can't explain something, it's got a very good get-out-of-jail-free card, which I'm going to share with you. So the current evolutionary theory with how dinosaurs become extinct is to say that a large meteor hit the planet and made the dinosaurs extinct. But not the beavers, not the rabbits, not the duck-billed platypus, not crocodiles and the other animals that lived around at the time. They were fine, but the dinosaurs were wiped out. So, I'm just going for a slight tangent. I'm just looking for a few moments how scientists try to attack anything which is in Genesis. A slight diversion, but only a very short one. So the Bible mentions the moon, for example. Day 4, the sun and the moon was created, all the planets and so forth. So, we can't have that. So let's come up with an explanation for that. Large asteroid or meteor hit the Earth and created the Moon. I suppose it's a notch up from the previous theory that the Moon was passing by and got caught in the Earth's gravitational field and got trapped. But yeah, an asteroid hit the Moon. Now the Bible, of course, says we only have one moon. So why not say we had two? Just to put that thought in people's mind that the Bible is rubbish, and of course the scientists are very smart and so forth. There's no evidence for that, but it looks like fact when you see it on the BBC and so forth. It's amazing what you can come up with. Now there's speculation, there's wild speculation, and there's evolution. That's how I look at it. Now the Bible also mentions gold as being present in Eden. Gold and other precious things like aromatic resins and onyx. So that poses a problem again for the scientists, because the Earth started out as a hot blob of molten rock, which cooled sufficiently for the oceans of water to form, and gold is heavy. So if Earth was a hot molten blob, the gold, which is heavy, should have sunk down into the Earth's core. Hence the explanation. Meteorites delivered gold to Earth. Well, of course, what was I thinking? That's fairly obvious, isn't it? There's gold in there, meteorites. Obvious, really, I suppose. It's amazing the extent to which you can look at meteors. They explain it with so many things. When you can't explain something, why planets spin the wrong way, why comets go around the wrong way, we're all hit by meteors and so forth. Look on the internet, now often meteors come out in explanations. It's remarkable. Romans 1:20. For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature have been clearly seen, being understood by what's been made, so that men are without excuse. I mean, really, it is, isn't it? It's blatantly obvious when you can see, but it just gets befuddled and so forth. How did dinosaurs become extinct? Well, nobody really knows, but the most popular, from a creationist point of view, are hunting, for example. We know that if we had a large marauding beast in Epsom, terrorising our families and our kids, we're going to get a hunting pack together, those roughy tufty men, aren't we? We're going to follow Shagan, right behind Shagan, we're going to hunt it down, and we're going to kill it and destroy its nest, aren't we? So it provides no threat to our families. Hunting. I know how many creatures have become extinct or going extinct in the world around us, like tigers and lions and so forth, because of the threat they pose to man and so forth. Habitat changes. We know that in the UK, we used to have things like bears and wolves in the UK, but as things got deforested and so forth with habitat changes, those have now become extinct in the UK. It's like this in other parts of the world, but habitat changes also has a major bearing as mankind spreads out. Genetic changes, genetic entropy, things getting worse over time, can lead to flaws and diseases and so forth. And climate change. Now, creation scientists believe that after the flood, it talks about heat and cold, there would have been an ice age after the flood. All you need for an ice age is warm seas and cold landmass. And with all that volcanic activity, we had the volcano in 2010, the Iceland one, it grounded all the flights, and it was filtering out the sun. That's from one volcano. If you get lots of volcanic activity, it's going to be filtering out an awful lot of sun, which then prevents the heat from hitting the land and so forth. But the water is still warm because of volcanic activity. So you've got a lot of rain, precipitation, which goes over the land and falls as snow. So you kind of get your ice age. So again, that could have been a major reason why dinosaurs died out. An interesting bit of study from the scientists. In warm-blooded mammals, cross-sections of their bones show many channels for internal passage of blood. In contrast, cold-blooded reptile bones have far few blood channels. Significantly, bones from some types of dinosaurs show a combination of both patterns. It may be that dinosaurs had a unique type of metabolism, unlike any animals today, which may have made them more vulnerable to extinction regarding the Ice Age compared to others and so forth. So it's speculation, but it's educated speculation.